I welcome you all to our network meeting this afternoon. It's lovely to see so many of you here. Our network meeting, as always, has the same aims, and as you will have noticed, I'm recording this so that it will be available in our Teams space, and we'll also upload it to our Supporting Our Schools site. Oh, somebody else coming in, let me just let them in. Our aims, as always, an opportunity to network. Having said that, I'm already wondering whether we're going to be able to do breakout rooms. We might just have to see if that works or not this afternoon. An opportunity to engage with some practice sharing and some updates from myself, which are quite short and sharp and towards the end of the session. So our afternoon, I am really pleased to be welcoming teachers from 3 of primary schools in our region who will be sharing practice this afternoon. The vast majority of our session is dedicated to hearing about the work in Ystreth Primary, Rosfedwyn Primary and Willowtown Primary Schools, all, as it happens, in Blaen y Gwent this afternoon, with our focus on reading. And then later on in the session, I'll just alert you to a few resources and our professional learning very briefly for the year before sending you on your way in good time, I hope. So, can I welcome, first of all, colleagues from Ystreth Primary School. I think we have Emma and James joining us this afternoon. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fantastically well. Thank you very much. It's really lovely to have you both here. I'm really grateful for your time this afternoon. Our theme this afternoon is all things reading, and you were very kind to share your practice with a particular focus on how you use literature. So I'm going to hand over to you. Are you happy for me to click the slides?
Yes, please, Catherine.
Just shout at me next, and that'll do. Thank you so much, Emma. Over to you.
Okay, thanks. Prynhawn da pawb. So my name is Emma Howells and I lead literacy in Ystreth, and I've got my colleague James with me who teaches in Year 6. We're going to talk to you about how we're adapting and starting to use literature in our context planning. Okay, thanks, Catherine. Okay, so I thought I would just open by sharing our reasoning behind the change. And firstly, one of the statements of what matter in the curriculum, as we know, is literature fires imagination and inspires creativity. And secondly, if you use the Education Endowment Foundation, many research ways to improve literacy. Use of literature covers many of their recommendations and incorporates many of the important skills that they recommend, such as, you know, it's enjoyable and promotes the love of reading, gives the children in the class a sense of well-being with that shared experience. It develops language capabilities, it promotes high-quality dialogue, extends pupils' vocabulary, models fluent reading by the teacher, teaches reading comprehension strategies, provides creative writing opportunities. The list is endless, really. Thank you, Catherine. So I thought I'd just share like our past, like our literacy journey and the reasons why we started to make the change. So before the curriculum for Wales, we focused heavily on teaching the non-fiction text types alongside the talk for write approaches. And writing was really driving our literacy instead of the oracy and reading skills. And we'd moved away really from using class text. We undertook Voice 21 training with Catherine in about 2019, and it really changed our mindset to literacy. And we realised that the children needed to be able to talk confidently, and to do that we needed to explicitly teach them how to talk and discuss. And furthermore, to write confidently, children need to be able to speak and have rich reading experiences. So then, following the introduction of the curriculum for Wales and its emphasis on Cynefin and the 4 purposes, I started to develop like a diverse reading spine, which was more suitable for the new curriculum. And I'd always enjoyed reading myself, but I wasn't really confident with providing teachers with Welsh authors and new text recommendations. I was working in Year 2 at the time, and I felt a bit out of touch with children's literature for the higher year groups. So I joined the Reading Teachers Equals Reading Pupils after school club, and which was run by Catherine, and that was really for my own professional learning and enjoyment, and it really was enjoyable. And I met lots of new colleagues, some of which might be with us today, who shared lots of text recommendations and ideas, and it really did reignite my own passion for reading again. Around the same time, Catherine was promoting the Book Slam competition, and it just seemed ideal to us to introduce a book set in Wales or by Welsh authors. And it included learning activities linked to the books that could be used across the curriculum. So we thought it was a win-win, really. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind changing to the next slide, please, Catherine. Yeah, so this is just an example of the books that I included in our diverse reading spine. I know you can't really see it now, but you know, if you zoomed in, you'll be able to see lots of book titles on there. We invested in these books, and they're distributed in classes across the school. So the headings are like they're all about ethical and informed citizens, disability, health and well-being, and enterprising or ambition. So they are the kind of columns, and there's lots of different book titles for each age range and progression step in that diverse reading spine. Next slide, please, Catherine. And then, so for me, like I said earlier, as a literacy lead, the Book Slam addresses many of the skills required by the curriculum for Wales, as well as promoting reading for pleasure. And it gives the children an authentic purpose to use their Voice 21 discussion skills. And also the children are required to use their DCF skills to promote a different book. So they have to choose 2 books. Teachers are using books written by the Welsh authors or set in Wales. And it might introduce the teachers to new authors that they hadn't heard of before, and they might want to like discover their other books that they've written. So it's kind of, it's giving everyone for different authors that we could use. So we buy, in our school, we buy all the books that are in the competition, and then the teachers from year 3 to 6, they have a look at them and they decide which they want to share with their classes. The competition aspect is only for the year 5 and year 6 classes, and for the past 2 years James has entered the competition with his class with quite good results. And his class chooses a book to study, and he uses this then to connect his learning across the AOLEs. So I'm just going to hand over to James now, and he's going to tell you about the kind of things he does using the books.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. As somebody who's, I wouldn't say I was a lover of literacy, it's not one of my stronger subjects, but the Book Slam has definitely supported me in regards to teaching literacy in year 6, and also bringing together all of those areas of learning, to be honest. The first year we did it was a bit of a jump in and see how we go. And the Book Slam were great at providing us with ways of transferring it across the different AOLEs, which was fab. Where last year I sort of went down my own route, because the books are not too lengthy. Some of them are quite short, some of them might be 100, 150 pages. If we particularly look at the Me and Anne Ramsey one that we looked at last year, I read the book myself, and as I was reading it, I was just putting little sticky notes in just to think of ways that I could sort of get other areas of the curriculum in there. So you might see little images of a character and something that I've typed. So I think one example above the science and tech would be that Sam's friend Emlyn is 6'2", and he's the tallest and the fastest person in the group. Sam believes he's the quickest sprinter because of his height. Would that be true in your class? And then we did a science investigation, all linked to the story. So the story is the driver, not a random topic that we try and force the book into. The book is the driver, and then from there, the amount of humanities work that we've been able to use, especially comparing our area to other areas of Wales, and then looking out further to other areas of the world has been great. The children absolutely love it, especially in regards to chapters. They can't wait for the next chapter to be read. It's been a real help for me, really, in regards to literacy, and the oracy side of things come into it as well. As Emma said, part of the competition is discussions, so all the Voice 21 stuff there is massive in regards to us then discussing the book and discussing chapters each time we read, but it also allows for the creativity, the expressive arts work that we've got out of it is fantastic. So I've really enjoyed doing it. We have had success the last 2 years doing it, which has also benefited the children, giving them lots of confidence. But it'd be great to see more and more schools using it, really. I think that I can only pass on positive comments about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would just like to add and say that I don't know if you want to talk to these slides before I chip in, Emma.
The last one was just the other book, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Some more. It was just some more examples of the work.
Oh yeah, I think it's some artwork.
Yeah, it was lots of artwork
from the first year we did it.
Yeah, the Sleeping Stones. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Did you want to say anything, Catherine, there, or?
Well, I just wanted to say before I open the floor and see if anybody wants to.
I was going to talk about the planning slide as well.
Yeah, you go for it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to round it off really by saying that although we are obviously still teaching the text types and using the Talk for Write approaches, we wanted to ensure that all the classes had these experiences of the rich literature opportunities. So that's why we're going back now to our context planning, and it is something that we've been working on like that last year, and we're still working on it now, but we've gone back to look at our context planning, and we've got class text now linked to each context for for a 2-year cycle of planning to accommodate our mixed year groups. And this slide here is just some examples of the text we put into the year 1 and the year 2 planning. Like I said, it was only completed really in the summer term, and this is our first year of implementing it, so I can't really comment on its impact yet, but I know the teachers are really enjoying using the literature with their classes, and so I feel like we've come a bit full circle. We've kind of and that the reading is more of a driver now in our curriculum than maybe the writing whereas the writing was before.
Can I just jump in as well? Sorry, Catherine.
Please do.
Just in regards to the book slam, especially last year, in regards to planning, at first I thought this is going to be extra planning. This is going to be more difficult. But once I read the book, it made things a lot easier. And on top of that, now with our good friend AI and Chat GPT, using that as a tool as well in regards to the planning was also really helpful. So just wanted to mention that in regards to the planning side of things.
Yeah, it gives you lots of ideas, doesn't it, for the different areas of learning. So yeah, we're finding that really helpful as well.
Diolch both. And I would just, again, I was a little advanced in chipping in. You were the lead school for Blaenau Gwent and went through to the national finals, I know. And I have to say, of all, because I am the county judge for 4 out of the 5 local authorities in our region. And so I met with your team of children for the discussion activity. They were they blew me away. The knowledge of the text, but also their ability to discuss it was absolutely fantastic. So it was brilliant to work with them. So
like I said, it's just really nice. It gives them that opportunity to use those discussion skills really, whereas you don't often get that. So it was really
good. Absolutely. Can I just remind, if you wouldn't mind, if you've just joined us, to register your attendance in the chat, but also if you could make sure that you're muted for the session, that would be fantastic. Emma and James, thank you so much. Does anybody want to, having said that, unmute or and come on and ask anything or make any comments to Emma or to James about what they've shared?
Hi, can I ask, when do you register for sort of this year round now? Because I've just had a little look and seen that everything on the Book Slam website at the moment is for the previous year. So do you know when it sort of starts for this
Oh, do you know
academic year?
what? It's almost as if you've seen the next slides. I will answer that in a moment, I promise. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm just too eager.
No, good for you. No, that's the whole point. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Emma and James, thank you so much. I will try if I possibly can, because it's dipping in and out, to keep an eye on the chat. And if anybody does have any questions or comments they'd like to make, it would be smashing if you would drop them in the chat. Yeah. I just want to mention, so the pupils from Ustreth Primary School were the winners from the schools in Blaenau Gwent last year and went through to the national final hosted in Aberystwyth, which is a fantastic day. I am delighted to tell you that it was another school from our region, Llantarnam Primary School, that actually went through as the school from Torfaen to the national finals and came second place in the national competition, which is extremely exciting. The year 6 teacher who took the children to that final provided me with a bit of feedback, which you can see on the slide there. And I asked her perhaps to share a little about, what do you think are the benefits for your children, for you and for the teachers? And, you know, what would you say to anybody else who's thinking about joining? And just as James has said, she felt that the whole thing was a brilliant experience. She really thought it was powerful to introduce the children, just as Emma has said, to Welsh authors in particular, and that the children's confidence grew through exploring and discussing the text, because the children's opinions and discussion of the text is core to the Book Slam Challenge. She felt, I think, as you did in Ustreth, that the resources were high quality and the texts were all valuable in their own right, and that she found it great for engaging reading lessons, but also for literacy through the school. And she's passed on some of those materials to all the year groups. And her advice, if you're thinking about it before I give you some more information, is go for it. So as always, the slides from this session will be in the team space after the session for you to access, so that you can look again if you want to have a look in a little bit more detail. So the Book Slam, what you really want to know. This year's Book Slam 2026, competition for children from years 3 to years 6. However, to go through to the national round, the children need to be in year 5 or year 6. But just to engage with the competition, anyone can join in. The link on the slide, I'm not sure, Mr. Rees, if I gave you those links, but when you access the slides after the session today, there is a link there to all of the registration booklet, and we ask for schools to register by the 5th of December. So by the end of this term, to register, you can either do that through the registration booklet, or if you are a school from Blaenau Gwent, Monmouthshire, Newport or Torfaen, you can come directly to me as your county round organiser and judge. So you can just drop me an email and I will register your interest. The competition itself generally takes place in the spring term, with the competition part of that involving creating a promotional video with your class, or with a couple of classes, or with your reading group or your reading club, whoever you want to join in the competition. And that will be a video that is sent to me. But in addition, there is the discussion round, and that's the part particularly that I enjoy, and that obviously Emma and James have felt the children have enjoyed, which is discussing their class text with a visitor. that is me. So as I say, the competition will be taking place in the spring and early summer term, ready for choosing the winning schools from each of our local authorities to go through to the national competition in June. This year's books. So there are a selection of books that are chosen by the Books Council of Wales team. All of these texts really high quality, very common Welsh context, but also many of these Welsh authors. So really fantastic for making sure that we're providing that rich context for our readers in school. I won't read those to you. You can see those there. And as I say, once you choose with your children the book that you want, buy the book in and read and enjoy it with the children, and then engage in the challenges that go alongside it. Does anybody want to come and ask a question at the moment? Or if you do have any questions, if you want to pop them in the chat, I'll just give a moment if anybody wants to come back with anything. Okay. Mr. Rees, I can't see the chat for a moment. I wonder if you can tell me if there's anything I need to respond to in there.
Nothing at the moment, no.
Marvellous. That's lovely. In which case, we shall move on the theme of high quality texts and the importance of giving children lots of opportunities to engage with text and discuss text and enjoy text. I'm really pleased to say that Lorna joins us from Rosfedwyn Primary School in Blaenau Gwent this afternoon. Lorna, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, that's marvellous. Are you happy for me to click the slides?
You can click away, Kath.
Perfect. You can just boss me about. That'll be great. Over to you, Lorna. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Do you want to click the first slide for me?
Right.
So we started a program called the Faster Reading Project about 3 years ago. Initially, we looked at 12 weeks. So the program was supposed to be for 12 weeks. And what you do is you read a text with the class. They have their own copies. And the evidence shows that it improves reading. We found in the first year that we did it that there was a definite improvement with our lower ability and our middle ability children, but our top children didn't quite get the benefit from it. So the following year, we decided to do it for longer. And we were a bit more selective about which books we chose and the questioning that we used alongside those books. And it had really good results. This academic year, we've decided to do it for the whole year. And I'll show you our reading data towards the end, but it's had a massive impact on our readers as a school. We've tried a number of things over the years without much success, but this program has worked well. So I'll explain to you what the session looks like. So the Faster Reading Project is run every day. I can't see the slide anymore, Kath. Sorry, someone else has got a slide up.
Apologies.
So it's run every day, and we run it first thing every day from year 1 up. We start the session by either introducing the book by looking at the front cover if it's the first time. If it's a day after the first time we've read the book, we do a recap of what was read the day before in a variety of different ways. So we might ask 5 questions, we might get them to tell a partner, I might give them 30 seconds to tell me what happened in the story, or the snowball effect where one starts, someone carries on. So the first sort of part of the session every day is just a recap of what was read the day before. Can you click, please, Kath? Then the next part is, obviously you have to have read the text beforehand. You pick some words from what you're going to read that you know the children might not know. Could be new words that they haven't come across, or words that they've heard, but actually you know they don't quite understand what they mean. I pick a maximum of 4, and I share those words with the children, and I explain what they mean before I read. just so that when the children hear the word when we're reading the text, I don't need to stop and explain anything. Can you click again, please? So then the next step is the reading. So as I said before, every child has a copy of the text that you're reading. They follow along whilst you are reading however much of the text is. So I try to read a chapter, and we're reading Sweet Pizza at the moment, and they're quite short chapters, so we read 2 chapters a day. And you just read continuously. You don't stop. You don't have a conversation halfway through. The children follow along. I make mine follow along with their finger, or they'll use a ruler, and they just listen to the story. Can you click the next slide, please? And then after you have finished reading the story, you write a shared summary. So you ask the children what happened in the story, and they create the sentences then that you scribe onto a large piece of flip chart paper we use. And that gets displayed up in the classroom. So some people display it as like a washing line if they've got enough room. So each day they add to their washing line. Unfortunately, I don't have that luxury in my classroom. So mine is on the back wall, and we just put the new one on top of the old one every day. It stays up in the classroom all the time. And then it's a useful tool the following day when you're looking at doing the recap, because every child can be engaged in talking about what was read, even if they can't remember, because it's on the board behind them. Usually they don't need a lot of encouragement to remember, because they've quite enjoyed, we actually get through a whole book and they become invested with the characters and the story. And especially, you know, if it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger the day before, they can't wait for that part of the story the next day. So it's there on display, so they can use it if they need to, but they don't necessarily have to. The sessions run for about 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes every day, and it's our dedicated time. Nothing interrupts our faster reading time. Can you click, please? There you go. Some days it's a bit shorter, some days it's a bit longer. It depends on how much you're reading, but what I would say is don't stop in between a chapter. You know, if possible, read to the end of a chapter. It's very hard for the children to pick up if you stopped in the middle of a chapter, because it doesn't quite end for them. And then they kind of lose the flow a bit. So I would recommend that you always read a full chapter or several chapters if they're quite short. Can you click, please? So yeah, just to show you what the impact has been in our school. So in our PM assessments at the end of summer term, and I've just used year 2 to 6 at the moment because I compared it to the national testing scores that we had. 77% of our school were reading at or above their actual age. And in the personalised assessment, so the national test for reading in the summer term of last year, the last academic year, 83% of our children were reading above or at their expected level, which for us is huge. I mean, we've never had scores like that before. And you know, there's lots of other things we've been doing, but the one thing that's been consistent is the Faster Reading project. And so we are really seeing the impact that it's having. And if you click to the next slide, it just shows you our 3-year levels of achievement for our year 6s. So with the data that we send up to the comprehensive school, in 2022-23, only 12% of our cohort, and we have quite small numbers, so it was only 17 children, but only 12% were reading at or above their age. In 23-24 it was 53%, so it started to improve, but last academic year we had 94% who were reading at or above their actual age. We've got children now achieving reading ages of 14 plus. I did the GL assessment last week with some of my higher learners, and actually had one of our year 6 girls come up with a reading age of 17 plus. And I think, you know, obviously it's not all down to the faster reading. She enjoys reading herself, but we are showing that across the school, our reading scores are improving. Can you click, please, Kath? This is just something that I threw in there just to give you an idea of what the children's views are on reading. As a school, I don't think that our children have always been very positive about reading. It's not been something that, you know, when we do listening to learners, that they've been really enthusiastic about. And funny enough, actually, I did this follow-up to this yesterday, and all of the learners that I spoke to, and I chose 4 to 6 learners from every class, were enthusiastic about reading. They could tell me about books that they've read, and they could tell me about authors that they've enjoyed, which again for us is something that we haven't had over the years. They've liked a book. We might have had a class novel that we've read of an afternoon, but you know, by the time you finished it, it's been a year's worth because you're reading 5 minutes every day. Obviously, we have our literacy is taught through a text, so they have those texts, but they've never got to read a whole novel, some of our children. And so the faster reading means that we get to read a whole novel. Like I said, we're just about to finish Sweet Pizza and they're already asking me, what's next? What are we reading next? So, you know, the enjoyment is there. And if you can get children to enjoy reading, I think that's half the battle, isn't it? Because then they want to read themselves. And they're talking about the books that they've read. I mean, they're still talking about Stormhound from 3 years ago that we read. When I speak to some of my, you know, they're year 7 or year 8 now, and they come in and see us, they're like, oh, do you remember that book? Oh, I love that book. You know, they're having a bit of an impact on the children, and they're remembering those books fondly, and that love of learning then sort of comes from that too. Can you click, please? These were just, we can click through these quite quickly. These were just some suggestions of some of the books that we've looked at. We try and pick books for different purposes. So I've got a child with Jamaican heritage at the moment. So one of the books that we're looking at, maybe including, has got that sort of character in. We look at historical books as well. We've looked at books that have Welsh authors. We've used non-fiction books for it as well. But it takes a little bit of practice to be comfortable with a fiction book, I think, before you can move on to a non-fiction and use it successfully as the faster reading project. I mean, the one thing I know when I presented this a few weeks ago, one of the questions was, you know, how much time does it take and what else do you lose? Because 45 minutes a day in an already very busy timetable means that something has to give. But because reading has been such a focus for us in our school for such a long time, we were happy to put that time in. And our topic work maybe in the afternoon hasn't had as much dedicated time as it had previously. But if our children can't read, the likelihood is they can't access some of the topic work anyway. You know, if they can't read what they need to do, they can't locate information, then they can't access all areas of the curriculum either. So for us, it was a bit of a no-brainer. This is where our time needs to be spent. And obviously this year we will do it for the whole year again and have a look at our data at the end of the year, and then maybe make some tweaks next year. Maybe next year we might not do it for the whole year. We might make it just a term, or, you know, a term and a half, or it's one of those things that we're sort of developing as we go through. But that's where we're at the moment.
Thanks, Lorna. I am going to open the floor to any questions or comments from anybody who's listening in. I think it's a fascinating project that you've been involved with for a number of years now. I have put a link on the slide there to the University of Sussex, which details the project in a little bit more detail, because obviously you've given us an overview from your point of view. So if anybody's interested in just knowing a little bit more, the link is on the slide there. So does anybody want to ask Lorna anything?
Are there particular books that are recommended and any resources that go with the books or anything to go with it?
You don't actually need any resources with the books because you're not teaching from the book.
Okay.
And in terms of, you know, the vocabulary that you're looking at for each of the chapters, it's a bit bespoke to your own children. So for example, you know, I could give you my slides for the vocabulary that I've looked at Sweet Pizza, but your children might be more advanced than my children.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm more than happy to share what I've got, but it doesn't take any preparation. It doesn't take any organization. And in terms of books, we tend to look for books that are slightly above where the children currently are.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at books that, you know, are at the top end of the year 4s, maybe lower end of the year 5s. I've got a year 3-4 class.
So every day, read a chapter, summarize the chapter, pick some vocabulary from it, and that's just every day.
Every day. That's the first thing we do every day.
Style questions or
no. You find that when you are writing your summary, you automatically have comprehension type questions, if you like. So what happens at the beginning of the chapter? And I might maybe give them a little bit of support if I know there's something that they haven't quite got yet. I might say, oh, go back and have a look at this page. Was there something about? And then they've got to find it. Or I might lead them a little bit, or I might just ask an opening question. Well, why is that important? Why should we include that in our summary today? And why don't we include this bit? So I use it as sort of a comprehension of what's been read, but an oral comprehension. So there's no pressure on the children. They have to write anything down. They don't have to worry about spelling. I do all that for them. I do it like a modelled writing lesson. So I'm sort of sounding out loud while I'm writing. So I kind of, you know, incorporating a few things in there. But it is just them summarising what's happened. And when we talk about what's happened the next day before we start the text, we might delve a bit deeper. Well, why do you think that happened? Or why do you think that character responded that way? So we just try and sort of eke out a little bit more of that comprehension in those times as well. But that's not the focus, because obviously if it becomes too much of a focus of the children having to answer in full sentences, then you lose that reading aspect to it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question about that? Sorry if you've already said this and I missed it. Do you do that as well as kind of guided reading and other reading sessions, or is that as well as? Okay, great.
Yeah. So we have faster reading is the first thing we do every day, and then I do my grammar literacy lesson, and then I have my guided reading in the afternoon.
Great, thank you.
It's okay. I'm more than happy if people want to come in and watch a lesson, or come and see what it looks like, come and talk to the children. I mean, you're more than welcome to just contact me at the school and we can arrange a visit. And I've had quite a few visits lately, and I've another one tomorrow. So, you know, the children are quite used to having people coming in for our faster reading session. So, you know, if anyone wants to come in and just get a bit more information or have a look, you're more than welcome.
Thanks, Lorna. It is fascinating, the wealth of research to back up the importance of the fact that there is not necessarily a reading response activity in the children's book is not the thing that impacts on the children's comprehension and their engagement with theme, character, plot, the nuances and inferences that you can get from engaging with the text in that way, from hearing those models, from following along. There is, you know, a lot of research that backs up the impact of it. So it's fascinating to see it in progress. And as you've said, Lorna, and I know this because I visited to get a little feel for what's going on in the school. Reading is such a priority for all of your learners that it's almost the number one thing. And so you've almost prioritized that above other things to make sure that those children are engaged and efficient readers. So it's fascinating. Any other questions before we move on? So just off the back of thinking about that high quality literature firing imagination and inspiring creativity, I have shared this in a network before, but I think it's always worth just reiterating. The Books Council of Wales, and the link is on the slide directly to this resource, have an interactive resource on their website, Cymru in English, and it details you can hover over the different regions in Wales, and it provides you with a fantastic resource, lists of books that are either set in that part of Wales or written by authors who live and write in that part of Wales. It's a phenomenal resource, and if you are looking for fantastic high quality literature that is in the context of the Welsh context, sorry, great resource. So, and I've just given you examples. So, for example, The Valley of Lost Secrets. I think anybody who is teaching in our neck of the woods would value reading The Valley of Lost Secrets somewhere in the school, particularly in Year 5 or Year 6, set in Llanhilleth in Blaen y Gwent, the story of a group of children who were evacuated to a Welsh village and the mysteries and the things that they get up to. It's a fantastic text, a brilliant read along. Another one that I came across through the Reading Teachers, Reading Pupils that Emma mentioned earlier. Great resource. I can't recommend it highly enough. And now I'm very excited and very much keeping my fingers crossed for the sound. We have a treat here from Willowtown Primary School in Blaen y Gwent. Willowtown are one of our partner schools this year, supporting with some work that is going on in Blaen y Gwent to develop a reading annex for the teaching and learning guidance for Blaen y Gwent schools in the first instance. And Fee, who will pop up in a moment, has created this video to describe reading for pleasure in Willowtown. Jonathan, I'm going to keep you on my screen. If you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, I'd be really grateful.
No. No sound.
We'll keep it running. It's fantastic anyway. I know you can't hear it, but this is Lydia Monks, the author and illustrator, talking to one of the children whose book she is signing there. This young lady is very proudly explaining that the illustration that she's holding was drawn live by Lydia Monks. She's very excited. I'm talking about some of the other illustrations and books that Lydia Monks has done. I'm sorry you can't hear this. He just likes reading to find out new words and get points. helps you do education. Yeah, if you're bored, you can read at any time. Oh, I'm devastated you couldn't hear that. The soundtrack was specially chosen, and I'm going to Fee, are you there?
Yeah, I am. And I
I'm
had a killer.
so
It was a
sorry.
killer soundtrack. So I've put it in the chat. So I would say you to get the full benefit, you need the song.
I would really encourage, we'll make sure that I post the video separately, pop it in the team so that people can have a look at it. It is fantastic and a work of genius with the soundtrack, as you say.
It is currently uploading. I'm watching the little blue line filling up, so it's on its way.
Thanks, Fee. Is there anything you want to pick up on, Fee, from the video, which again that you put together?
I mean, a lot of the things you probably do yourselves anyway. But one of the exciting things that's happening this year is we're going to the Hay Winter Festival in November. But even though it may be a bit late to join in this one, there'll be one now in May and another one next year as well. And all of those sessions that are being done there are available online. So you can still register and watch those. I think Simon Mole and Gecko are doing one of the sessions, and I've seen those in Hay, and they're brilliant. And the other one is a draw along with Rob Biddulph.
Fantastic. Thanks, Fee. I'll just stop sharing for a moment, wondering if anybody has any questions or, again, clarification that you would like to ask Fee.
And if you do decide to go to Hay, you can access the Go and See Fund, and they will pay for your buses and any of your transport there as well.
Ooh, what are we calling that? The Go and See Fund?
Go and See Fund, yeah, it's by Art Council Wales.
Just pop that in the chat as a reminder. That's a good call.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to come and visit us in Willowtown, our biscuits are good, so please do.
Thanks so much, Fee.
No worries. It's up there now anyway.
Diolch. There it is. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. Ooh, right, let's see if I can get. Okay. Well, the theme for today was very much around reading, and the focus turns out around literature. I know it's very early, and I know it's many months away, and we barely got to half term, and everyone's just clinging on by the fingernails. But is it worth just spending a moment thinking about reading for pleasure and linking it to World Book Day? World Book Day next year on the 5th of March. Always tricky for us in Wales because of the timing and a lot going on in schools at that time. But I don't know many schools that don't engage with World Book Day or have a special reading day at some point in the year. The link at the top of the slide here is to the World Book Day website, which I'm sure you're all familiar with anyway. But what I have done, and I think, have I, Mr. Rees, on the link there, given the World Book Day activity ideas link? If so, would you mind just chopping it in the chat?
You did, and I just have.
Oh, you're a marvel. Thank you very much. I had a conversation with a teacher recently who was expressing the frustration with how little time she had to think about World Book Day, and felt that with the rush of the year, it always felt a little bit last minute. And partly as a result of that, everybody dressing up for World Book Day in some cases was the primary activity that took place on that day. And it was with that in mind that I thought it might be useful, with 6 months to go. I thought I would share with you a selection of ideas that Jonathan has just put in the chat there, that I've adapted from a collection of resources, to perhaps give you time to just spend a moment to have a flick through, have a think, have a look at the alternative ideas. In particular, a couple of my favourites. Once went into a school where there was a Get Caught Reading display that was created before World Book Day, where the children had been encouraged to take photographs at home, around school, in their community, as well as the Lollipop Lady, as it was then, had done one, and the Governor's Stall done one, and people in the local community are taking photographs of themselves getting caught reading somewhere wonderful, somewhere weird and wonderful, somewhere interesting. And that became then a talking point for what they were reading in the photograph, which was, I just thought was lovely. Another idea, the book swap, which I know happens in lots of schools, is a really great one. The children bring in a book that they have that they can swap with someone else, but a slight variation on what that perhaps would be to have the book wrapped, and then to write clues on the cover of the wrapping for perhaps what lay inside, that might just add a bit of mystery to the activity. And just one more from the list, What's My Book? Again, this I saw a couple of years ago in a primary school, where the children were wandering around with a sticky label on their arm, and the sticky label was 3 clues about their book. And children were encouraged as the day went on to stop and ask and perhaps make guesses at what the clues were too, in terms of their favourite book. Really nice, because that can be anything, and it might not be a novel or a short story. It might be something factual, something non-fiction, to encourage us that any kind of reading is reading for pleasure. So can I ask you, if I stop sharing for a moment, can I again encourage you to use the chat? It would be, or even to come on screen, that would be even better. Have you got a classic, always a winner in our school for World Book Day? Fee? Go for it.
I have, and it's because of linking in with this Reader for Pleasure thing, innit? So we make a masked reader video every year. Having not ever watched The Masked Singer before I made this, I was sort of slicing bits up, and I didn't know actually what is this about. But we sort of slice in clips from the TV show, and then we read one book. It's usually like a short sort of story, like a younger children's story, but each of the staff sort of take part, and they put an emoji filter on their faces, so the children don't know who is koala and who is giraffe. And then we share that on World Book Day, and then they have a quiz in class. Then they have to guess who they think is reading each little excerpt. The video is like, it's crazy. You think you've had a drink, but it is. But they love it, and you can hear them right around the school, sort of like chanting. But it is fun. And then, because based on the success of that over the last 2 years, this year we changed it slightly. So we did the mashed reader, and everybody, all the members of staff had to make, sorry, I'm working from home and my cat has just appeared in there. And my but this year all the members of staff, we had bags and bags of potatoes delivered. All the children made their favourite book character and decorated a potato, and then all the staff had to make a potato of their favourite character, and then we made a sort of a similar sort of video with all of ours, and they had to guess who they thought had made each one. But they love it. I don't know what to do next year now, because it's like every year is building, but that works.
Well, have a little skim read through the resource and see if there's anything in there for you, Fee.
Brilliant. Cool. But if anyone wants if anyone wants a copy of that, which they can edit themselves, I'm happy to share it because it is good. No worries.
Thanks, Fee. Any other offers? There's a load in the chat. Teachers swapping classrooms, stop everything and read. But book in a box from Shelley there, where they replicate a scene from their book in a box. We do a travelling story which starts in reception. Ooh, that sounds nice. Oh, Fee, you've posted it, diolch. Any other recommendations coming through if anybody would like to come on? I'll add all these to the list and repost it in the files section for today's meeting. You got them all together. There was a very assertive one there. We do not dress up. I think I've of a mind. If it genuinely the World Book Day is genuinely about reading and enjoying reading and promoting reading, I think time is precious and there are many things that we can do to help our children and to engage with stories. So hopefully something new for you in the slides. Okay, I'm just going to very briefly, and this will be brief because you'll have access to the slides to look in more detail yourself, just give you an overview of the professional learning offer this year from us. And by us, I mean myself for primary and the partner schools. So anything in red is hosted or run online by one of our partner schools. Some of the, if the link is underlined on the left-hand side, the course code, that will be a live link for you if you want to book a place through TicketSource from the slides once you have those. So our reading offer this year, the Developing Early Readers, is being hosted again by Maindee Primary School in November. I attended that day last year and the teachers who attended that found it absolutely fantastic, and the wealth of resources that were shared by Claire in Maindee was phenomenal, so highly recommended there. I'm running the Improving Reading Comprehension for teachers of 1 to 3 and 4 to 6. That's happening after half term. A number of resources given out there as well. I'm really excited by the offer from the Federation of Blenheim Road and Coediva this year. They'll be opening their doors in the spring term for you to go and have a look at how they develop reading through the school. And similarly, if you would like to go to Pentrapoeth Primary School in the spring, they are repeating a session that they ran 2 years ago now, where you can go and see live practice of how they are using reciprocal reading that builds on the guided reading approach, but provides children with greater independence in developing those comprehension monitoring skills through their reading session. For writing, again, delighted that we have new professional learning being hosted at Ringland Primary this year. So in March, you can go and spend time in the school and look at the way that they have developed their writing journey to improve standards there. Kate will be hosting an online meeting in June, sharing the work that they are currently developing with Bridie Davis and their staff to look at developing high quality writing in humanities. Blenheim Road and Coediva will be hosting an online session to share how they go about developing spelling, and that builds from the professional learning that was offered last year, which was an online recorded session. Developing Early Writers will be hosted in the spring term by, again, Blenheim Road and Coediva. I'm delighted that session will be a very practical session hosted in the school to see live practice. And I will be running again this year, Building Skills for Writers, in the spring term, looking at the planning sequence and developing those skills. just a heads up also that much of our cross-curricular work is beginning to be developed with our partners in the AOLE, and Bridie will continue with her work this year to develop literacy and humanities, and is offering 3 sets of training, the first of which they begin this term. So reading in humanities, speaking and listening in humanities, and writing for those authentic opportunities in humanities. And as our focus today is particularly on reading, I just want to flag up this excellent 2-day training. Again, I'm aware that the schools that engaged with this last year found it very useful, looking at developing reading skills authentically through your humanities curriculum, particularly from years 3 to 6. So shameless advertising there. I think, are you there, Shelley?
I am.
Oh, hello, how are you?
Hello.
Well, is this a surprise to you? I know that you've engaged in some fantastic work in the summer term. Do you want to talk to? I've got a slide, a couple of slides that outline the PL and the dates. Are you happy to just say a word about this programme?
Yeah. So back in July, I was invited to attend this a day on, and it's a project which. It started off a lady called Charlotte Ryland, who works for the Stephen Spender Trust. And basically, she worked on a project with this charity and the Queen's College Translation Exchange. And basically, the project's called Creative Translation. Now, it's kind of based really on international languages, and I'm not a linguist. I love English. I love all things literature. I love children's books. I did the Welsh sabbatical, which completely changed my way of thinking about Welsh. And if anyone gets the opportunity to do it, I highly recommend it. It's amazing. But that aside, so this project started all about creative translation. I think it was driven by the fact that the number of students engaging with learning international languages is decreasing rapidly. And yet the number of learners with English as an additional language is increasing rapidly. So they wanted to try and create some resources that would engage primary and secondary children, would engage them in sort of like reading texts that were maybe not written in their home language. It was a fantastic day, and there's a whole load of training coming out. So if anyone's interested, basically, if you go on, it's the Stephen Spender organizer.org. Yeah, I can see the link there on that slide. What did it for me was that we did some activities with picture books. That actually, one of the picture books we were shown, we weren't shown the language, but we were just shown the images, and we had to almost like create the story ourselves. And then we were shown the text, and it was a simple picture book that was written in French. And it was so lovely that we were able to kind of retell the story in English, just using the images on the page. And then we were shown the French text that went with it, alongside a kind of a glossary, a translation of all the key terms. And it was amazing how just having this glossary, you were able to almost like to read the language yourself. It was so empowering. So, you know, it would draw in, it allows you to use picture books. So it's sort of promoting that whole visual literacy. But we also looked at things like Ukrainian poetry and, you know, the different kind of how letters are written differently, how they have a totally different alphabet. And it was almost like being a kind of a language detective. So you were given a kind of a key, if you like. It was just amazing. So I know the training, there's some training starting in January. I think there's 3 90-minute sessions that are all online. But I'm really excited about it. So Sioned, who is the sort of the learning partner for sort of international languages and all things Welsh, and she just asked if I would say something about it. And as I love children's books, and, you know, it's really nice that there's a connection really with what you've been talking about today, that sort of reading for pleasure and just finding that joy in texts, even if they're not written in your home language, then this is the training for you. It's really, really good. And the resources that are being produced, this is always a great thing, I think, for whether you're primary or secondary. If you get a pack of free resources that someone have been tried and tested, that's always a great thing. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Shelley. And this was I know that you sent some of this to me, I think in the summer term, immediately after you'd engaged with the training. And as ever, Shelley, your enthusiasm is overwhelming. I've booked on off the back of that, so I'm looking forward to those dates in the spring term. And anything to engage, and the fact that this is across languages is a bonus, of course. So thank you so much for speaking to that. That's great. I have, as I said, the link to register or to just find out more is on the slide there. So once these are in the team space, feel free to have a look. Thanks, Shelley. And so, you're all going to be delighted. Way ahead of time because of the situation with the technology. Our session this afternoon, predominantly practice sharing. Can I say a huge thank you, diolch yn fawr iawn, to Emma and James from Ystreth, to Lorna from Rosafedwyn, who's had to leave, and to Fee from Willowtown for going to all the time and energy it takes to share. So thank you so much. And feel free to take them up on their offer of if you want to find out more about the work that's going on in their schools. Our next network meeting is on the 11th of February, which sounds a long way away now, but we know that'll whip round. Our focus will be on writing. I am in the market for and scouting for schools that feel that they have practice to share with regards to how have you gone about improving standards in spelling. So last year I recorded as a professional learning, which is still available. If anybody wants to drop me a line to have access to that, you can do that. But in the evaluations for our summer term network meeting, still a number of people, as always, looking for suggestions for what is it looking like in schools? How are you doing that across the week? How are you developing spelling? And particularly, how are you fitting that teaching time in? So if any of you feel, not that you've got it all sorted and you can write the book, but are there things that you've been trying over the last year or so that you'd be willing to just give us a glimpse of how you're going about that, then please drop me an email. It would be fantastic to have some sharing from schools in our spring term meeting. But our focus will be all things writing for that session. That being said, the slides and the recording of today's session, such as it is, will be available soon after the meeting this afternoon. Thank you, Lorna. That's fantastic. I really appreciate your time. And I know that you, as you say, you've been visited a number of times, but if you can and you are interested, I would take Lorna up on the offer.